Hey there, car enthusiasts. Ever wonder what it was like driving cars back in the day? Well, buckle up because today we're diving into 25 absolutely bizarre dashboard features from old cars that are now completely illegal. Some of these will blow your mind, and others will make you wonder what manufacturers were thinking. If you love automotive history and crazy facts, hit that subscribe button and let's get rolling. Starting off strong, we have cigarette lighters that weren't just lighters. In the 1950s and 60s, many cars came with dashboard-mounted cigarette lighters that could also be used to light actual cigars right there while driving. We're talking open flame while controlling a vehicle at highway speeds. The distraction factor alone makes this illegal in most modern safety regulations. Imagine trying to light up while merging onto the freeway. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster. Next up, let's talk about the terrifying metal dashboard designs. Before the 1960s, car dashboards were made entirely of solid metal with zero padding. During a collision, these became literal death traps. Your head would smash into unforgiving steel, causing catastrophic injuries. Modern safety standards now require padded dashboards with energy-absorbing materials. Looking at those old chrome-covered dash panels now, it's genuinely shocking anyone survived accidents back then. Moving on to number 3. Non-collapsible steering columns. Old cars had rigid steering columns that would impale drivers during front-end collisions. The steering wheel would shoot straight back like a spear into the driver's chest. Federal safety regulations now mandate collapsible steering columns that compress during impact, dramatically reducing injuries. This single change has saved countless lives since its implementation in the late 60s. Number 4 is going to make you cringe. Dashboard-mounted spikes and protruding knobs were everywhere in vintage cars. Radio knobs, climate control dials, and various switches stuck out several inches from the dashboard. During accidents, these became projectile hazards and puncture risks. Current regulations require all dashboard controls to be recessed or designed to break away safely upon impact. Those beautiful chrome knobs? Gorgeous to look at, deadly in crashes. Here's a wild one for number 5. Some cars actually had dashboard-mounted gear shifters with exposed linkage mechanisms right there in the cabin. But you could literally see the mechanical parts moving as you shifted gears. Not only was this a safety hazard if clothing or fingers got caught, but the exposed metal posed serious injury risks during collisions. Modern regulations require all mechanical components to be properly shielded and enclosed. Number 6 brings us to non-laminated glass instrument clusters. Early car gauges were covered with regular glass that would shatter into sharp shards during impacts. Today's regulations mandate either laminated glass or polycarbonate covers that won't create dangerous projectiles. Imagine your speedometer exploding into glass fragments during a fender bender. That was just normal back then. Let's talk about number 7. Dashboard ashtrays with open flames. Not just cigarette lighters, but actual ashtrays built into the dashboard, where hot embers would sit inches from upholstery and your legs. The fire hazard was enormous, especially with the flammable materials used in old car interiors. Modern safety standards have essentially eliminated these, both for fire safety and distracted driving regulations. Number 8 is absolutely bonkers. Some luxury cars featured dashboard-mounted liquor decanters and shot glasses. Yes, you read that right. Built-in bars right there on your dashboard, encouraging drinking while driving. This was considered classy in the 1920s through 40s. Obviously, with modern DUI laws and safety standards, having alcohol within easy reach of the driver is completely illegal now. Here's number 9, and it's concerning. Completely smooth dashboards with no grip texture meant that objects would slide around dangerously during turns or sudden stops. A heavy metal radio or clock could become a projectile. Current regulations and design standards require textured surfaces and recessed areas to prevent objects from sliding into the driver or passengers during normal driving maneuvers. Number 10 features those beautiful but deadly hood ornaments that you could see from the driver's seat through the dashboard design. While not technically dashboard features, many dashes had sighting notches or windows specifically to view these ornaments for alignment. The ornaments themselves became illegal due to pedestrian safety laws. Those chrome Jaguars and flying ladies? outlawed because they caused horrific injuries to pedestrians and cyclists. But moving to number 11, mercury switches in the dashboard. Actual liquid mercury was used in tilt sensors and switches for various dashboard functions. Mercury is incredibly toxic, and if the switch broke during an accident, drivers could be exposed to dangerous vapors. Environmental and safety regulations now completely prohibit mercury in vehicles. It's classified as hazardous waste, yet millions of old cars had it right there in the dash. Number 12 is genuinely frightening. Dashboards with no impact zones or crumple consideration. The entire dash was designed purely for aesthetics with zero thought given to what happens when a human body hits it at speed. Modern cars must meet strict head impact criteria with specific deceleration rates. Those gorgeous Art Deco dashboards were essentially concrete walls, waiting to cause traumatic brain injuries. Let's hit number 13 with non-breakaway mirrors mounted on the dashboard. Some cars had vanity mirrors or rear view mirrors with rigid metal mounting that wouldn't give way during impact. These could cause severe facial lacerations and eye injuries. Current standards require mirrors to detach or fold upon impact to minimize injury. Beauty came at a serious cost back in the day. Number 14 brings us to dashboard vents with no finger guards or safety screens. The heater and ventilation openings were just holes with sharp metal edges. Kids could stick fingers in and get cut or burned by hot air. Modern regulations require protective grills and designs that prevent finger access to any moving parts or hot surfaces. Simple fix, but it took decades to implement. Here's number 15, and it sounds like science fiction. Some experimental cars had radioactive radium-painted gauges that glowed in the dark. Radium is seriously radioactive and causes cancer. The dashboard literally emitted radiation into the cabin constantly. While rare, these existed and are now completely illegal under nuclear safety regulations. Workers who painted these dials often died from radiation exposure. Number 16 covers unpadded sun visors with exposed metal frames. When these flipped down during an accident, the metal edge could strike occupants in the head. Modern sun visors must be padded and designed to minimize injury potential. Such a simple component, yet another dangerous design choice that seemed fine at the time. Moving to number 17, we have dashboard-mounted television screens in the 1980s that the driver could watch while driving. Early in-car entertainment systems had no restrictions preventing driver viewing. This is now illegal in virtually every jurisdiction. Screens must be positioned and programmed so drivers cannot watch video content while the vehicle is in motion. Seems obvious now, but it wasn't always regulated. Number 18 is particularly strange. Some cars featured dashboard-mounted compasses with free-floating needles on metal pivots that could detach and become projectiles. The needles were often sharp and weighted. Modern regulations require securely enclosed instruments where no components can break free during impacts or rough driving. Here's number 19. Flammable dashboard materials made from highly combustible celluloid and early plastics. These would ignite easily and burn with toxic fumes. Fire safety regulations now mandate flame-resistant materials throughout vehicle interiors. Old car fires would see the entire dashboard melting and dripping flaming plastic onto occupants. Absolutely horrifying. Number 20 brings us to dashboard heaters with exposed heating elements. You could actually see the glowing hot coils right there in the dash. Touch them accidentally and you'd get serious burns. Regulations now require all heating elements to be completely shielded and insulated. The burn risk and fire hazard of exposed heaters is just unacceptable by modern standards. Let's talk about number 21. Non-recessed door handles and window cranks that protruded into the cabin from the dashboard area. During side impacts or rollovers, these would catch on clothing or cause impact injuries. Modern designs require handles to be flush or recessed to prevent snagging and reduce injury during accidents. Number 22 features actual wooden dashboards with splinter risks. Real wood construction was common in luxury cars, but during impacts, the wood would splinter and create puncture wounds. While wood trim still exists, it must now be treated, sealed, and backed with safety materials that prevent splintering. Those beautiful walnut burl dashboards were beautiful death traps. Here's number 23, and it's about formaldehyde. Dashboards made with urea formaldehyde foam insulation release toxic fumes into the cabin, especially when heated by the sun. Long-term exposure causes respiratory issues and cancer. Regulations now strictly limit formaldehyde emissions from all interior materials. Breathing that new car smell used to mean inhaling carcinogens. Number 24 covers dashboard fuel gauges with direct mechanical linkage to the gas tank, sometimes even having fuel vapors present in the dashboard mechanism. A spark or flame near these could cause catastrophic fires. Modern fuel systems must be completely sealed with no vapor escape into the cabin. The thought of gasoline fumes mixing with cigarette lighters in the same dashboard is nightmare fuel. And finally, number 25, we've got manual chokes and mixture controls on the dashboard that required constant adjustment while driving. Drivers had to manipulate these controls frequently, taking hands off the wheel and eyes off the road. While not explicitly illegal, modern emissions regulations have eliminated these by requiring computer-controlled fuel systems. The distraction factor alone makes them incompatible with current safety standards. There you have it, 25 dashboard features from vintage cars that are now completely illegal or regulated out of existence. It's amazing how far automotive safety has come. Next time you get in your modern car with its airbags, padded surfaces, and safety features, remember that people used to drive around with metal spears, open flames, and radioactive materials just inches from their faces. If you enjoyed this trip down automotive memory lane, smash that like button, subscribe for more car content, and let me know in the comments which of these shocked you the most. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. It's actually pretty wild when you really sit down and think about how much has changed in just a few decades. The safety standards we take for granted today were literally unimaginable to car manufacturers back in the 1920s through 60s. It's not that they were trying to hurt people, it's that the concept of crash testing and impact analysis simply didn't exist. Engineers designed cars to look good and run, but the idea of systematically protecting occupants from harm was genuinely foreign to the automotive industry at that time. What really gets me is how many of these dangerous features persisted for so long, even after people started understanding the risks. And it took actual legislation and federal intervention to force manufacturers to prioritize safety over aesthetics and cost savings. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration didn't even exist until 1966. Before that, there were virtually no federal safety standards whatsoever. Cars were designed by engineers and stylists with zero oversight or requirements to meet safety criteria. Think about the ripple effects of these changes, too. Every single safety feature that became mandatory started because enough people died or were seriously injured that lawmakers decided change was necessary. The padded dashboard? Someone's forehead had to meet an unpadded one hard enough to create a movement. Collapsible steering columns? Countless drivers had to be impaled before that became a priority. It's a sobering reminder that automotive safety progress is written in tragedy. The evolution from those early days to now represents one of humanity's greatest engineering achievements. Modern cars are engineered with redundant safety systems, computer-controlled braking, crumple zones that absorb impact energy, airbags in multiple locations, stability control, lane keeping assistance, and automatic emergency braking. A car from 1960 and a car from 2024 are basically operating on different planets in terms of safety philosophy. The modern car assumes the driver will make mistakes and tries to prevent or mitigate the consequences. The vintage car basically threw up its hands and said, "Good luck out there." What's particularly interesting is how these safety improvements happened unevenly across the world. Yes, American manufacturers were eventually forced to comply with federal regulations, but other countries had different timelines and different standards. Some features that became illegal in the United States persisted for years in Europe, Asia, and other regions. And some countries still have cars on the road today with features that would never pass inspection in North America or Western Europe. The global automotive safety landscape is still incredibly diverse. The economic impact of these regulations was actually enormous. Car manufacturers had to invest billions in redesigning vehicles, retooling factories, and developing new materials and technologies. Some companies struggled with the transition and went out of business. Others thrived by embracing safety as a selling point and marketing advantage. Eventually, safety features became something consumers actively wanted and valued, which fundamentally changed how cars were designed and sold. There's also the human element to consider. The engineers and designers who worked on these vintage cars weren't evil people trying to create death machines. They were working within the constraints of their era, using the knowledge and technology available to them. Many of them would be horrified to learn about the consequences of their designs if they could see the crash test data we have today. But they didn't have that data. They couldn't run computer simulations. They couldn't see the detailed biomechanical analysis of what happens to a human body in a crash because that science didn't exist yet. But one thing that really strikes me is how many of these dangerous features were actually considered luxuries or improvements at the time. Dashboard bars? That was a sign of wealth and sophistication. Cigarette lighters? That was modern convenience. Hood ornaments? That was style and prestige. The fact that these features were actively marketed as desirable makes it even more interesting. Consumers wanted them, manufacturers provided them, and nobody fully understood the risks involved. It's a reminder that what seems obviously dangerous to us now seemed perfectly normal just 50 or 60 years ago. This historical perspective is actually incredibly valuable for thinking about modern technology. We're implementing autonomous driving systems, advanced driver assistance systems, and connectivity features at a rapid pace. But we're probably making design choices right now that future generations will look back on and say, how did they ever allow that? What seemed like a good idea to us will probably be seen as reckless by standards we can't even imagine yet. It's humbling to realize that we're likely just as blind to certain risks as manufacturers in the 1950s were. The regulatory frameworks that exist today were built on the foundation of accidents, injuries, and deaths. Every federal safety standard came into being because enough people suffered that change became unavoidable. NHTSA doesn't regulate things randomly. Every requirement has a tragic history behind it. That's both reassuring and unsettling. It's reassuring because it means we have systems designed specifically to prevent harm. It's unsettling because it means those systems exist because of real suffering. If you're interested in automotive history and safety evolution, I'd honestly recommend looking up some of the original crash test footage from the 1960s and 70s. Watching cars basically explode and crumple during testing, seeing the dummy occupants get thrown around violently, it really drives home why these regulations became necessary. It's sobering stuff, but it's important context for understanding where modern cars come from. The manufacturers themselves have actually embraced safety as a competitive advantage now. Different brands tout their safety features and test ratings like their selling points. Insurance companies offer discounts for cars with advanced safety features, but consumers actively research crash test ratings before buying vehicles. It's a complete reversal from the old days when safety was barely a consideration. This shift in consumer preferences and market dynamics probably did more to drive safety innovation than regulations alone could have achieved. Looking forward, it's interesting to speculate about what features of today's cars might be seen as shocking or reckless in 50 years. Will autonomous vehicles eventually eliminate human drivers entirely? Will we see regulations on electronic systems that we can't even imagine? Will some of the materials we use today in car interiors be banned for health reasons we haven't discovered yet? The future of automotive design and safety is still being written, and I'm genuinely curious where it goes. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you so much for sticking around. Your engagement means everything to me and helps me create more content like this. I genuinely love exploring these kinds of topics where history, engineering, and human behavior intersect. There's so much fascinating stuff in the automotive world beyond just the obvious car stuff. If you want to see more deep dives into automotive history, engineering evolution, or crazy facts about how things have changed over time, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future videos. I'm constantly working on new content that I think you're going to love. Drop a comment below telling me which of these vintage dashboard features disturbed you the most, or share your own thoughts about how much automotive safety has improved. I read the comments, and I genuinely value hearing from you guys. Thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.